Hello, I'm going to be showing you this drawing of a black horse done in charcoal. I decided to make a series out of this, so I'm going to be doing a number of drawings of black horses, and this is going to be the first one. Let's have a look. I'll do my sketch in two stages. First I'm going to position the horse here roughly in the center of the paper using my graphite pencil. And this is a 2H graphite pencil, by the way. So like I said, more or less in the center, slightly to the left maybe. And after that I'm gonna use charcoal pencil. Normally you wouldn't sketch with a charcoal pencil because it's a lot more difficult to erase, but I have a reason why I'm doing this now. First I'm going to draw some of the details on the head and the front legs. Not too much though, just the overall shape. But I plan to go over this with vine charcoal, so I had to use my charcoal pencil because otherwise my sketch would just disappear and I would have to do the same thing all over again. This way, when I do the sketch, this dark charcoal will remain, and I additionally pushed it a little bit into the paper with a brush. This is vine charcoal, and now I'm going to go over everything to create my scene. I'm going to use it to create a little bit of the background and the ground and the mid-tone for my drawing. And even though it now looks like I ruined it, I think it'll look a lot better once I'm done. I'm mostly blending with a paper towel. I'm going to leave that area around the legs a little bit darker because that's where the ground will be. And I'm also going to make a few of these darker areas to make some suggestions of clouds in the background, just to make the background a little more interesting. But nothing too defined. I'm trying to create a vignette with just some out of focus shapes, with the horse being the focus of my drawing. So just adding a little more of that vine charcoal here and there to create those clouds in the back, to create some variation in the back, and just softening everything with brushes of various sizes. Again, I'm using the vine charcoal to create a little bit of this grass here. I don't really care too much about the shapes. I'm just gonna put these strokes there and blend them in a little bit, and some of them will remain. I don't want it too defined. So I softened that a little bit with a couple of my brushes. I use the softer brush when I want to move the wine charcoal around, and I use the stiffer, harder brush when I want to push it into the paper a little bit more and make it darker. Just adding a little bit more here and there, and just a few more darker tones here in the background. I'm going to start the main part of my drawing, and I'm going to start working on the horse, starting with the eye, which is a small detail but fairly complex. I don't know how much of it will be visible here. And a little bit of the mane. That was the ear, and now these wrinkles around the neck and the head. You can see that I'm just drawing the darkest areas first. I am not worried about the midtones right now, because I'm going to be spreading that charcoal with a brush or a tortilla. And this area here needs to be even darker. So my goal here is to draw these darker areas and then push the charcoal towards the lighter areas, creating some mid-tone in between. And I'm going to be using the brushes for that, so that I can create something that looks like shiny black fur. I'm not too worried if parts of it become too dark, because I'll just bring back those highlights with an eraser. And now this here around the hoofs. Again, as with the anatomy of some other animals that I've drawn, I'm not an expert, but I do know a thing or two, and that helps when you're drawing any subject. But you don't necessarily have to study the anatomy of the animal and be an expert. So you can see that I'm generally drawing the lower sides of all body parts a little bit darker, especially in between the legs and around the hind legs here, and around the tail. And we're going to have some lighter areas here around the glutes, and now I'm doing the tail. The horse is prancing and waving its mane and tail around, so I need to try to capture that motion. To make my sketch come alive on paper. You can see that I'm achieving a decent range of value here, in spite of the fact that I'm pushing a lot of that charcoal around with a brush. But it will get even better once I start drawing the highlights with my eraser. I'm just adding some more value and some more detail and texture where I feel is needed, as well as cleaning up some of the edges. This is a tortillon that I'm using now. It's a very, very useful tool when drawing and shading things that need these softer transitions. Like, for example, when you're drawing muscles or folds in a clothes and things like that. And this tortillon, which I made myself, also has a very nice tip because it's been rolled tightly. I'm going to use whatever charcoal is on the tortillon to draw some of this dirt that the horse is throwing around because it's prancing. So we have some dust and dirt flying around. Some of these are larger than others. And add a few more details to the grass. A few more blades. And then just keep on refining the body of the horse. And just blending a little bit more here and there and adding a few shadows here under the abdomen. because when I'm blending, some of these darkest areas tend to get just a little bit lighter as I spread the charcoal around. So once I finish with the blending, I can go over them again and get these areas to be even darker. This is a pencil eraser that I'm using now to do some of the highlights. First, as you can see, I drew some of the lighter hairs on that tail, and I'm drawing some highlights on the buttocks and the hind legs. Horses in general are very muscular, strong creatures, but this is a particularly impressive specimen here. And of course, drawing these highlights gives me a greater range of value, which will help me create more volume in my subject. So that it feels like we're looking at a real animal and not just a drawing. These are some of the final touches, both with my charcoal pencil and a pencil eraser. I pretty much used a single charcoal pencil for this. It was a woodless, medium woodless charcoal pencil, and I also used that vine charcoal as well as a number of brushes and tortillons. Now I'm just going to finish the drawing by signing it. And there's the signature. Thank you for watching.